Okay, good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us for our Habits of Health study this morning. My name is Julie Baker. I'm a certified health coach with Take Shape for Life. And today we're going to be going over lesson 10 in the Living a Longer, Healthier Life. And if you want to go ahead and open up your workbook and your book, Habits of Health, to chapter 11 and 12. We're going to go over a lot of different things today, but this is some of my favorite information because people, when they start their health journey, always want to know what happens when I'm done losing my weight and I'm at my healthy weight. What happens next? And I think that's really what separates us from a lot of other programs, is just that most people think when they reach their healthy weight that they're done. Ta-da, you've arrived. And that is not the case at all. In fact, it's really your first stepping stone for long-term health. So these chapters really dig into that and how to continue your health journey even after you have reached your healthy weight. So on page 79 of the workbook, where it talks about lesson 10, eating healthy for life. Discover foods and eating habits that are going to optimize your health long-term. So the things that we're going to talk about is understanding the habits of weight control and finding out why reaching your healthy weight is just the beginning. Unhealthy foods versus healthy food choices, learning how to manage your hunger, transition to healthy eating. And then one of my favorite is to calculate your set point for adding calories, because people ask me that a lot too. Can I count calories? Do I have to count calories? How does all that work? So we're going to get into that too. But we're going to start with the Be Slim lifestyle. That probably sounds familiar to a lot of you, because if you are on one of our programs with Take Shape for Life, you have a Be Slim order. That's what they call it. Be Slim actually stands for something. It gives you a spot to kind of write it down, and it's on the Habits of Health, page 149. So go ahead and write it in with me. Be Slim is an acronym, and each letter stands for something different. The B stands for breakfast, and how breakfast is an important part of your day. The E stands for exercise, incorporating exercise in your routine. The S is for support, which is what we do, having things like this, your health coach, the Facebook page, all the different levels of support in your health journey. The L stands for low-fat meals every 3 hours. The I stands for individual plan, because it really is very individualized to you, your health, your abilities, what you're wanting to accomplish. And the M stands for monitor. And monitor is really just being aware of your weight and kind of knowing where you're at in your health and not letting it get to that point where it's not manageable. So that's what Be Slim stands for. If you ever hear people say, oh, your Be Slim order, there's a reason why they say that. So turn the page. We're going to talk about what a classic yo-yo diet pattern is and how it occurs. It's on page 151. And I know that a lot of people have been yo-yo dieters before. And a lot of times that's the hardest thing for them to break, is how do I break the cycle of not being a yo-yo pattern dieter? And on page 151, I'm just going to read this section because I think it's really important. It's on the Habits of Health book. It's a paragraph in the middle. Energy balance, the first key to maintaining your healthy weight. The fat cells in your body use energy. When you lose weight, you decrease your metabolic demands, and the amount of energy your fat cells use decreases significantly as well. But as a result, you experience a lower level of daily energy expenditure. If you were to go back to your old pre-diet eating habits, as dieters often do, your energy needs are going to be out of balance, and your new, lighter body will be taking in more energy than it can use. And as a result, your weight can balloon. It's the classic yo-yo pattern caused by an ever-widening gap between energy in and energy out. And, I think that's a big concern for people. They're just like, so when I am off the 5 and 1 or the Nursing Moms or whatever program that you're on, what happens next? Do I just go back to eating what I was eating before? And this answers that question. If you go back to your old eating habits, which were probably not healthy, which is what caused you to be unhealthy in the first place. If you eat all the same foods that you ate before, yes, the same thing is going to happen. And that's what happens with people. Really, the only way for me to explain it is just that, there is no absolute guarantee that you're going to keep the weight off, because it's up to you. Now, we give you every educational opportunity. We give you menus and recipes and support, everything in the Be Slim. We give you all of that, but it is completely up to you. Are you ready to make that lifestyle change? Now, with all of those supports, it helps you. Those are those extra things that help you. But it is up to you, because if you go back to your old habits, you do the same thing over and over, you're going to get the same results. So really, I love that this program helps you with your healthy mind too, because I think that is a big part of it, is just knowing that, you might have to change some things about your lifestyle or your routine. Maybe you had some unhealthy habits that were causing you to snack a lot, to eat things you shouldn't. Maybe you just weren't buying the right foods at the grocery store. Maybe you just didn't know. You were uneducated about nutrition, and now you know. So there's so many ways that you can stay on track, and we're just going to kind of go over those today. So to transition from weight loss to a lifetime strategy of eating healthy, you need to focus on 2 areas. And we're on page 80 in the workbook, and it says those 2 areas are adding calories until you reach your set point. We're going to talk about what set point is. It's when your calories in equal your calories out, and that's how you maintain your weight. And exercise is incorporated in there as well, because obviously we know if you're eating more calories and you are not burning any calories during your day, then you're going to gain weight. That's just the science behind it. And introducing a full range of foods to support you. And your, sorry, I'm just reading this here to make sure that I explained the set point exactly. So set point says, take care not to overshoot this number or you will regain weight as you add more food groups. So that's what it helps us figure out. And there are 3 factors that we're going to talk about that will help us figure out our set point. So our set point is also called our T, T-E-E. If you have not heard that term before, you might want to read through these chapters in the book, because the workbook is just kind of an overview of the chapters. They're long chapters, but it's really good information, and I feel like it's vital for transition. Your T is your total energy expenditure, so your energy out. And the 3 factors that determine what your T is, they're on page 154 in the Habits of Health book. And there's a cute little chart that kind of helps if you're a visual person. You might want to go in here and look, because it has percentages and things like that. The first one, you can fill these in, is your BMR, which stands for your basal metabolic rate. The second one is your PAL, P-A-L, physical activity level. And the third one is TEF, T-E-F, thermic effect of food that we eat. So all of these things have to do with how are we going to maintain our weight once we reach our healthy weight. And it goes more into detail in the book of exactly what those things are and how you find those things. But we're going to calculate our T together. So if you have your phone that has a calculator on it, or if you have a little handheld calculator, take a minute. I'll wait for you, and go get that, because you will, no matter how good you are at math, you're going to need a calculator to do this. Okay, so on page 81, we're going to figure out our T, and this is going to help us. We're going to take our current weight, and you can fill this in. It gives you little spots to fill it in. You're going to take your current weight in pounds, and you're going to multiply it times 11. 11 is for calories. And that number, your weight times 11, is going to be your daily caloric need. So then it gives you a blank to write that in. Now, so that's the first part. That's the BMR part. And then you're going to, once you have that number, you're going to adjust it based on your activity level. So this is kind of where exercise comes into play. If you are doing light exercise, you multiply it times 1.2. You can multiply it times 1.5 for moderate exercise, or 1.7 for heavy exercise. Okay, so once you do that, the number that you come up with is how many calories that you should be eating per day for you to maintain that weight. So that's kind of a good number for you to keep in mind if you're a calorie counter. You know, maybe you have a Fitbit or something like that, or even our Habits of Health app where you can track your calories. I'm not a calorie counter, but it's because I go based on how I feel, and I know I'm at my healthy weight, and I know when I have either gained a couple pounds or I just don't feel like me. And that's a little bit easier to gauge when you're at your healthy weight. And I think the reason why is because you can hear your body so much more when you're at your healthy weight. You know, you recognize the signs, maybe it's a headache or fatigue or whatever it is, you actually can hear that it's your body. I think sometimes before we might think that it's, you know, outside circumstances or whatever it is going on, we don't really pay attention that, oh, my body's trying to tell me something. I need to sleep more. I didn't get enough protein. I didn't drink all my water, things like that. But I really feel like the healthier that you get, you can really understand your body better, and you kind of know what you need. But this is a really good number to calculate so that you know and that you have it in here. And transitioning to a permanent eating plan can be easy using this number. So what you can do is, you know, maybe you're on the 5 and 1 right now, you're eating about 1,000 calories a day. Depending on where you're at, you can just add another 100 calories when you transition. And we'll talk about that in a little bit when we go into the transition part, but it's a really good number to know. And it has a structural tension chart on the next page, using your T and adding calories in. So you can use that when you're ready to transition. And then it lists some core principles for reaching and maintaining a healthy weight. So the first one is on page 131 of your Habits of Health book. The first one is fuel control. And that's just mastering your calories and your insulin. And we know that when we don't eat often, that our insulin and our blood sugars, you know, are very unregulated. And that's why some of those unhealthy habits that people had before, not eating breakfast, only drinking coffee, starving at lunchtime, things like that, it really throws your body and your blood sugar out of whack. And so that's why sticking with the eating to every 2 to 3 hours is really vital. And it goes into that a lot more in the book. It's very interesting. So I recommend reading that when you have time. The second one is hunger control. The science of being full and knowing when you are full. And it talks about that in the book too, just that, you know, so many times we're thirsty, we're not really hungry, and just stopping to ask ourselves, have I had enough water today? Or am I really hungry? Because sometimes we're not really hungry, we're bored, or we are wanting, you know, just maybe wanting something to snack on, even though we know that our bodies might not need it. So just kind of managing our hunger, making sure that we are on track eating every couple hours, and then it will manage itself that way. But sometimes that gets out of whack. And so it's good to know when you're really hungry and when you're, you know, just wanting to eat just because. And the third one is waist control. So maintaining our healthy weight and removing fat and making sure that, you know, we fall within that healthy category for our body type. But there's a lot of practical things that we can do too that will kind of help this come into play. Some methods for mastering calories in. They're listed on your Habits of Health page 131 and 132. Portion control. You know, we've talked a lot about that in previous chapters about just eating from the 3 food groups that Dr. A has written about, the little graphs that we looked at, making sure that our sizes are correct. You know, he even equates it to certain sizes. You know, you should have grains the size of a tennis ball, you know, So if you're going to eat whole grain pasta, have it be this big, not your entire plate. So just paying attention to portion control is a big thing. Making sure we eat every 3 hours, 3-hour fuelings. Because if we don't, I know if I wait 4 hours, I am starving. So it's important to eat every 3 hours. And number 3 is our fueling percentages. And I think this is an interesting thing too. I'm going to go back to this in the book because it talks about getting enough macronutrients in our body and making sure that we get the correct amount. So the fuels or macronutrients are carbohydrates, fat, and protein. Because I get that all the time. Like, what about carbs? Everybody's freaked out about carbs. Like, I can never eat carbs again. You can actually, in the correct amount. And so that's what's important here, is just that you are getting them as fuel. They're still a part of your fuel. They're not as necessarily as healthy for you as protein, but getting them in the correct amounts. And it kind of goes over that as well. And that's the next chart, is what are the 3 macronutrients: carbohydrates, fats, and proteins, and eating them in the correct amounts. And why is it better to eat low glycemic foods? I don't know if you've ever noticed, but I just ate a meal replacement. On here, it actually says that they're low glycemic. And people have asked, what does even all that mean? So page 133 in the Habits of Health book talks about, there are also low glycemic vegetables, which is why on the 5-in-1 there are certain vegetables that you can eat and certain vegetables that you cannot eat, because I do get that question a lot. Why can't I eat carrots or sweet potatoes or things like that? And not even that they're not necessarily healthy for you, but in stage 1, as Dr. A calls it, the weight loss stage, we just, for that period of time, take those out of our diet. We will add them back in later because they're a little bit higher glycemic level. So I want to read this because I feel like this is spot on in the book. So it's page 133. It says, unfortunately, as we go about consuming our supersized meals in bliss, the damage can begin without notice. Deep inside, high insulin levels are creating a state of inflammation, decreasing the flexibility of our blood vessels and causing premature aging of our cells. And there are warnings to be had: poor sleep, low energy, headaches, thirst, cravings, hunger. Anybody ever had any of those? But for many of us, these signs seem like nothing more than one reason to stop at the fast food drive-thru or a local drugstore and grab a soda and some painkillers, right? People do that all the time. I have a headache. I'm just going to drink a soda. I need some caffeine. I need a Tylenol. And those are warning signs for our body. In fact, over 8 million Americans right now have diabetes and don't even know it. And wow, I think that really goes back to the listening to your body, and what is it trying to tell you? Trying to kind of diagnose yourself. What is my body needing right now from me? Or what has my schedule been like? So I think that's really important. And if you turn the page to page 134, 135, it talks about our glycemic index and how the food that we eat, how it affects that, and our insulin response in our body when we eat high glycemic foods and when we eat low glycemic foods. And we have talked about that in previous chapters as far as which ones are which are better to buy. But really, it's better to eat the low glycemic foods because it regulates your insulin levels. Just like that paragraph was talking about, most of the time people think that those signs are just, I've had a stressful day or whatever. And so when we really follow what we're supposed to be eating and supposed to be doing, our body really regulates blood sugar, insulin pump, all those things, and just helps us to feel so much better. And the next section in the workbook talks about what are the core principles to control your hunger. So hunger control. There are 5 of those, and I'm just going to go through them. You can read more in depth about them in the book, but the first one is volumetrics. The second one is energy density. The third one is sensory specific satiety. Fourth one is protein enhancement And the fifth one is fiber, and how these all go hand in hand with making sure that we're not starving, because that is one of the things that people ask on this program. How am I not going to be starving when I'm only eating about 1,000 calories a day, or small meals? And if you're on the program, you know that you're not starving. You know, once you get into fat burn, and you can actually have a lot of food. Your Lean and Green is a lot of food. So I'm always surprised that people can say, I had a hard time eating my Lean and Green. It was so much food. Or do I have to eat that meal before bed because I'm just not hungry? So following our programs will assure that you're not hungry, which, by the way, yes, you do need to eat that meal. On the 5-in-1, if you, you'll have a nutrition gap if you don't, because they're made for your daily intake as far as calories and protein. And even though you might not be hungry, it's still important for your weight loss to eat that last meal. So some low density foods that we can enjoy. It has us list some of these, but they're on page 139, and there's a little chart here that goes over the food groups and what are some things that are better for us as far as in the glycemic index. And, it lists all the way from the lowest to the highest. For the lowest, it's most fruits and vegetables, broth-based soup, so that's good to know, not cream-based soup, skim milk, cooked grains, cereals with low-fat milk. It does talk about commercial cereals are chocked full of everything that's bad. So really reading the ingredients, seeing how much sugar is really in there and things like that before you buy cereal. But low-fat meat, beans, salad, medium energy density foods are meats and cheeses, salad dressing, some snack food, and then the highest are things that we should avoid. Chips, crackers, candies, cookies, all the stuff you already know about. Butter, full fat condiments. Now nuts are on there as well, but if you read in here, the reason why it talks about, because you're probably saying, we can have nuts as a snack. Yes, we can. But there's a reason. They can be high in fat content. So you have to really limit, which is why there's a set amount that we can have, 10 almonds or whatever, not a bag full of almonds. So while they can be healthy, again, it comes back to portion control for nuts. And I know some people have a hard time with that because nuts are really good and you end up eating a lot. So we try to limit how many we eat. But I wanted to turn to page 140 in the book. And this talks a little bit going back to those macronutrients. But on the side of the page in the green, I wanted to talk about macronutrients ranked by level of satiety. Which types of foods make us feel the fullest? Because I think this is interesting. Protein, obviously, is going to fill us up, which is why our meal replacements have a high amount of protein in them. But next is complex carbohydrates, then fat, and then it talks about alcohol, because alcohol is a macronutrient. But alcohol is at the bottom of that. So Dr. A kind of talks about that it's a poor choice when you're trying to maintain your weight, drinking alcohol. And just really, if that's a part of your daily routine, it's not going to help you get to your healthy weight. In fact, it might stall you. It's not approved on the 5-in-1. I know people are like, oh, it's so hard. If you're not a drinker, then you probably don't have an issue with that. But Dr. A does talk about, having a glass of wine when you're at your healthy weight, and that there are many health benefits for that. But I know a lot of people have asked about that. So it is in here and it does talk about it. So back to the workbook on page 84, we talk about the best and most efficient way to remove excess fat. And what is that? It gives us two choices. They're exercise and fat burning state. Which one is better? Because this seems to be the biggest question or issue that people seem to have is, I work out, I got a personal trainer, I work out 5 times a week, scale is not budging. What is the deal? And there's a Greg Rex's story is in here on page 145, and he talks about that. He was an athlete, and he is an athlete, but he was overweight and was really trying to lose it, and he said he did it for a year. He worked out with a trainer like crazy, and he only lost 3 pounds. But when he started on our program, he lost, I think it was 53 pounds using our programs, because it puts your body in a fat-burning state. It's hard to lose weight without being in a fat-burning state. It's really hard. So if anybody tells me that they have lost weight without going on one of our programs, I know that they've worked super, super hard to do that. But it also might not be the healthiest thing for them to do, depending on how much stress they were putting on their body. And no doubt it took a lot of time out of their schedule and their life. And so really just getting in a fat burning stage, which if you're in it, you know that it's awesome. You're losing weight, you're feeling good, you're able to eat often, and you're not hungry. That's the best way to lose weight. So it has a chart here, a structural tension chart about how to guide you through transition. And so we're going to talk about some of that, and how we add food groups back in. So chapter 12 in the book is all about transition. And so when my clients are going through transition, I absolutely have them read this chapter, go through it, we talk about it. There's also a section in your quick start guide in the back that goes over how to add in the food groups as well. It has some meal plans and things like that. But the book is much more extensive on that. So it divides it up into 4 weeks, and you can start at the bottom. The first week 1, you're going to add back in vegetables. You're going to keep it up to 4 servings, because right now you're eating 3 servings. If you're on the 5 and 1, you're eating 3 servings of vegetables. So you're going to add another serving of vegetables back in. Now, another thing that I get asked a lot too is, do I still eat all my meal replacements? Yes. For right now, you eat all your meal replacements and add vegetables back in. So you're going to be eating more, which is kind of hard sometimes for people to transition to eating more, because that is a lot of food. Week 2, you're going to add in fruit. Yay! Fruit is my favorite. I used to just eat all fruit, and then I realized that's like massive amounts of sugar. So trying to like balance all of that out. But I know a lot of people miss fruit a lot on the program. So week 2 of transition, you get to add fruit back in. So that's usually happy time for everyone. Week 3, you're going to add back in low-fat dairy. So things like yogurt, milk, things like that you are able to add back in. Week 4, you're going to add whole grains back in. And if you turn to chapter 12, there is a really good chart on here which can help you. It kind of goes through, depending on how much weight you lost, is to how long it can take you to transition. So it's on page 159. This is a really important part. If you lost less than 50 pounds, allow 8 weeks to transition. If you lost 50, and if you lost like 10, you can probably back down a couple weeks from that as well. If you lost 50 to 100, allow 12 weeks. If you lost more than 100, allow 16 weeks to transition. And the first 4 weeks will be the same for everyone, but it's working back up to that calorie number that we talked about when you calculate your T and try to figure out how many calories you should take in. Even after you have added all these things, after 4 weeks, you might not be there at the calorie count. You might not be enough and at enough calories. And so you might need to add more, and that's what those weeks in between these things are. But page 159 in the book is perfect. Goes over exactly the calorie count, approximately, but adding, it tells you on week 2, you drop 1 meal replacement. And you kind of replace it with fruit. And so now you would be at 4 meal replacements and 1 lean and green. Week 3, you add back in dairy. Week 4, you drop 1 meal replacement. So you don't just automatically skip to a 3 and 3, because I've had people ask that too. Do I just, like, tomorrow wake up and eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner? I'm like, no, you're going to throw your body out of whack. So you want to make sure that you follow this, and it walks you through exactly what to do. So in the workbook, page 85, preparing for transition, are you ready? So once you've reached your healthy weight, and then it asks you what you can do, the options are eat whatever you want, add fruits, eat only fruits and vegetables, stop exercising because you've made it, but the correct answer is gradually add calories from all the food groups. So some healthy eating strategies that are going to help you. And they're on page 162 in the book, but if you want to write them in, they're still use meal replacements. Both my husband and I still use meal replacements because they're convenient. Honestly, we're really busy. We have a couple kids, we're pastors, we're health coaches, we're really involved with a lot of things, and we're busy. So there are days where those meal replacements literally save me because I did not have time to eat. Now we don't, we're not on the 5 and 1 anymore. We are at our healthy weight, but I know that they're chock full of nutrients, vitamins, and high in protein. So if I'm hungry and I need something to eat, I'm not going through a drive-through. I do not do that anymore. I grab a meal replacement. So those are really healthy for you to still use, even when you're not completely on the 5 and 1, if you choose to. Using a 9-inch plate and kind of going over those portion sizes that Dr. A talked about earlier, and making healthy choices from the 3 major food groups. Use the color-coded system to go shopping. You don't know what to buy. I think that's the biggest thing for people. I don't know what to buy. I go to the grocery store. You know how to make this stuff for your lean and green, but the rest is kind of up in the air. We tell you exactly what to buy in this book. So we have a color-coded system. 100-calorie snacks in chapter 10, page 120. I love that list of 100-calorie snacks. So there's no excuse to not know what to buy. And there's plenty of options that you'll like. And the menu planning. So plan ahead. That is probably one of the biggest things that gets us women every time, right? Is that it's like 5 o'clock and we're starving and our kids are hungry and we're like, I don't have anything to eat. What are we going to make? Oh, let's just go out. Oh, let's, whatever. And so I know that that's very typical of families because it happens. We're busy. But I think taking the time to plan ahead, do menu planning. Some people plan for their whole week. If you know that every Tuesday night it's going to be crazy busy, or you have soccer or lessons or whatever, you might decide to do something different on those nights, or have something in the freezer already prepared, or whatever, if you know that you're not going to have time to cook. So I think menu planning can make a big difference in your health journey. And then it just goes through some of these questions. Berries are low glycemic and good choice. Yes, they are. Corn and peas are example of low glycemic vegetables. No, they're not. That's why they're not on the 5 and 1. Which potato is the best choice? Actually, it is yams. And it kind of goes over that as well. What type of bread is a healthy choice? All of these except for white wheat. So pumpernickel, sourdough, and whole wheat are all healthy choices. Is commercial breakfast cereal a wise choice? No. Read those ingredients. Look carefully. There are some healthy choices that you can buy at the grocery store that are not chocked full of sugar. Rice is very high glycemic and should be eaten only occasionally and in small amounts. Yes, that is true. But you'll notice in countries where they eat rice, excuse me, they don't have a humongous portion size either. When they eat rice, they eat rice. They don't eat like American Chinese food where it's rice, so it's very different. You should eat red meat at least 3 times a week. No, you should eat fish numerous times a week. And if you're not a seafood person, I love seafood. We live in Florida, and I really think I could eat seafood every day. But if you're not a fish person, try to just choose those lean meats. When you go to the grocery store, get the leanest meat that there is. If it's red meat, get it as lean as possible. Your permanent eating strategies should include meals that have 5 qualities. So we're going to write these down. Page 150. They are low glycemic. They satisfy your hunger. They control your caloric intake, so they're the right amount of calories, low amount of healthy fats, and keep to a 3-hour schedule. That's important. Notice we've said that like 5 times. Eat every 2 to 3 hours. And it talks about, let's see, planning meals during transition and beyond. I'm in the book, page 162. Okay, so we went over all these things, but on the bottom in that green chart, it says, don't forget to monitor your weight. Be slim. The M part of that is monitor. Your weight's going to fluctuate. Your weight fluctuates every day. If you're not weighing daily, which I hope you're not, I hope you're weighing once a week, because we don't want to be scale obsessed. But during transition, you know, your weight goes up and down a little bit. It's going to fluctuate, so don't freak out about that. If you weigh yourself in the morning, it's going to be different than if you weigh yourself at night. And, you know, some people will say, I gained a pound overnight, I'm in transition. Your body, it's going to take some time. And it talks about this too. Your body is going to get used to getting off the 5-in-1 with the additional food that you're eating and the calories. And it's same as when you started the program, it's now backing off a little bit. So your body needs to readjust again. Monitor your weight and adjust your calorie intake up or down if you fluctuate by more than a few pounds. You know, anywhere from probably 2 to 5 pounds, your body's going to fluctuate, especially for women if it's that time of the month, hormones. But, you know, if you notice that you're gaining weight, you need to cut back on calories a little bit, recalculate your T and start tracking your calories. If you need to start tracking your calories, you definitely can. And you might need to have a red zone for yourself. So a red zone is basically a number on the scale that you know that you've gained some weight and that you need to call your coach. So that red zone is going to help you figure out, okay, I don't need to be here. Something's off. Maybe I'm not eating correctly. Maybe I'm not incorporating exercise. Just going over some of those factors, and your coach is really going to help you do that. But that red zone number is, if you reach that on the scale, that is a flashing warning sign. Call your coach. That's what your coach is there for, to just help you figure out, okay, where are we at? What do we need to do? What do we need to change? Are we falling back into some of those unhealthy habits? And with our programs, we really try to teach new habits, because it's hard to break those old habits. So instead of just saying, you know, stop doing that now, we try to replace it with something else. Same as with our meals, okay? So, you know, used to love pasta. Just replace it with spaghetti squash, or do a zucchini lasagna or something like that. So we are not saying you can never have Italian food and pasta again ever. We are just saying, let's replace it with a healthy option so that we feel like we're not missing out on that. So I think that can make a big difference too. And we're going to talk about shopping tips are on here. So page 163 in the book. Always choose fresh fruits and vegetables if you can. If you can't, or you need frozen is good too. I do not recommend canned vegetables. There's a lot of sodium in those, and the reason why is because they put them in a can with water and sodium and salt to maintain their freshness. So they're typically not as healthy for you as fresh or frozen. Include a lot of greens in your diet, and just watch your higher glycemic vegetables with caution. You know, the things like corn and peas and carrots and all that. Not saying you can't ever eat them, just try to make them not a daily choice in your diet. Then it kind of talks which fruits are the best. Citrus, so oranges, mandarins, and stone fruits like peaches and plums are the best fruits that you can eat. So I love peaches. And berries are low glycemic too. So just kind of trying to make the best choices for those. It also gives us a calorie count. So it says 1 cup of cooked vegetables is about 50 to 70 calories. So if you're having a hard time figuring out how many calories, this will help you. A medium piece of fresh fruit is about 80 calories. A cup of cubed fresh fruit is about 80 calories. So that's the same. And then adding back in the starches, carbs, Okay. What are some healthy choices for bread? We talked about those. And it lists some cereal choices. Pasta. Okay, this is a big one. It's okay to have a cup of pasta, but choose a low glycemic variety, such as spinach rotini, some of the vegetable pastas, or whole grain. That is good too. Just kind of looking at the ingredients, reading it. And low glycemic bread is about 80 calories. So this kind of breaks it down for you about how many calories you are intaking with those. And choosing healthy cooking methods, I think, is important. That's a big thing. And what does that mean in terms of calories and things like that? You know, what kind of oils are you cooking with? Stay away from cream sauces and things like that. And really just frying things. Try to bake things or grill them. Grilling is a lot better than, you know, cooking it in oil or breading things. And some of that might be habit because that's how you grew up, or I'm Southern, I grew up in Kentucky, so everything was fried. So just trying to make sure that you're cooking it properly. It could be healthy food, but you're preparing it in a way that's making it not as nutritious for you. So I think that that's an important part too. Page 168 in the book, keeping your portions in check, and this gives you some practical terms for this. So they're probably not going to give you a 9-inch plate at the restaurant. They're going to give you a big one. So you have to visualize what a 9-inch plate looks like. And if the portion size they give you is completely off, ask them for a to-go box up front. And when you look at your food, go ahead and take the correct portion size and scoot that over and take the rest of it and put it in a to-go box and take it home. You can eat it later. It's probably enough for 2 meals. That's typically what restaurant portion sizes are, enough for 2 meals. So yay you get 2 meals, but you want to make sure that you don't eat all of it in one sitting. Or split a meal with the person that you're with. We do that all the time. Split a meal because it's just, it's easier, saves you some money, and you know that you are getting a better portion size. But also, you know, instead of an entree, you could get 2 appetizers, like a soup and a salad, or something like that. Sometimes there's some healthier options on the appetizer list. A lot of restaurants now actually have lighter portion sizes and will tell you the number of calories. So that might be something to help you. But if you eat out a lot, go back to your workbook, page 86, how to eat healthy when you're eating out. Again, a big issue with a lot of people. We're really busy. We eat out a lot. How do I eat healthy? Short of eating at a fast food restaurant, because we try to stay away from those. They don't have healthy options. There's almost always some meat and vegetables that you can get at any sit-down restaurant. So now you might have to make some modifications to what they're putting on it or how they're serving it. But we were laughing because we have been in San Diego with a lot of health coaches this past week, and I think they weren't used to people modifying the menu. And I said, we are health coaches. We are going to modify every menu. So we were all sitting at a table and everybody, can I have this without this and this and add this, you know, things like that. So I'm sure they were a little annoyed at us, but if they realized that we were doing it for our health and that we are trying to eat the healthiest food possible. So sometimes you might need to do that. But something that's going to help you is if you know where you're going to eat, go ahead and look up the menu online. That's going to just help you see what options you have and can go ahead and make your choice before you get there so that you can really enjoy the people that you're with and have a good conversation and not be so concerned that you're not going to have food to eat. So look online ahead of time if you can, and ask for the bread or the chips to be taken off the table. Or I know if something comes with bread, I ask them, can I replace it with something else? Or can you just leave the bread off? And some people bring their own salad dressing, so it kind of talks about that too with them, because not every restaurant is going to have a good choice for salad dressing. You can always do oil and vinegar, but if you don't like that, you know, you might want to bring your own, and that's okay. You can do that. Choose dishes that are baked, grilled, poached, or steamed. And obviously lean cuts of meat. Maybe ask your waiter too, how is this prepared? Or, do they come with butter on them or sugar or whatever? Because a lot of vegetables do to make them taste better. So sometimes just asking. And though I think that those tips are going to help you with eating out. And, you might find a place that you really enjoy and has a lot of healthy choices. And so if that is something that with your schedule, you eat out a couple times a week, try to make sure that you pick those healthy places to eat so that you're not tempted. I think that's the biggest thing with fast food. First of all, they don't have the best choices, but it's hard to pick the right choices when you go to a place like that and you're tempted by all the other French fries and, ice cream and all the other stuff that's on their menu. It's hard. You're putting yourself in a hard position to say no to those things. It's okay. I'm just going to go to McDonald's and order a salad. It's like you're way too tempted. Don't even put yourself in that situation. Don't even go there. Go somewhere else where you know that you can make a better choice. So the last part too is just there's another structural tension chart. And these are for you to utilize and maybe go through with your coach when you are at the transition stage to add B-Slim Mastery. That's what it calls it, is that you have really mastered all of those things to help you maintain your weight. And I really think that when you are at your healthy weight, it's a lot easier to maintain because you know the healthy choices to make and you know how you feel. And I was telling someone the other day, I used to be a big sugarholic. I used to eat ice cream, chocolate, candy. I just had a really bad sweet tooth. And I've always been at an okay healthy weight. Now I'm at my healthy weight. But I've had a couple kids, and so I'm back to where I was weight-wise before I had kids. But I had a really bad sweet tooth. And once I changed my eating habits, I don't want those things anymore. I can go to the store and go down the candy aisle, and it doesn't bother me at all. And I don't even care, and I don't even buy it. I do not keep it in my house because I don't want to tempt myself to eat it. And so that's kind of my method, is don't even go there. If it's a problem for you or it's hard for you, literally throw it away, get it out of your house, tell your loved ones, maybe it's your kids or whatever. My kids shouldn't be eating candy anyway, so I try not to keep it. But let them know this is what's hard for me and I can't keep it in the house for right now. So just kind of trying to remove yourself and keeping you as far from those things as possible has been just helpful. But also, once you change your lifestyle, that is when you have true freedom, is that those things, those habits that used to control you, you've replaced them with new habits and you don't want them anymore. And you'll find that you want healthy food because you know that your body feels its best when you eat healthy. So I love talking about transition. If anybody ever has questions or you're worried about it, I am definitely here to kind of help you through that process. But the books are a huge part of transition, and to read numerous times to really help you get it and understand. And hopefully by the point that, by the time that you are transition, so much of you has changed that a lot of these things will come a lot easier for you. But our health journey is a lifetime journey. We're always improving our health. So getting to a healthy weight is just the first part of that. And then your coach and your support team are all here to help you transition, maintain your weight, and be the best version of you. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. Thanks for joining us today.